My name is Nanonomaru. I'm currently 25 years old. Today, I would like to tell you a story about my childhood. I'm actually allergic to dairy. Ever since I was little, I couldn't drink or consume anything that had dairy in it. My family found out about my dairy allergy when I was only 1 year old. It was when my mom spoon-fed me milk, and as soon as I drank the milk, I started vomiting like crazy. I started turning red and started developing spots on my face. My mom called an ambulance immediately, and I was taken to the hospital. After taking a blood test, they found out I was allergic to dairy. According to my mother, before the incident, I was totally fine with drinking milk, so she was very shocked to hear about the news. Ever since then, I realized that breast milk from a cow was different from a human. As many of you might have expected already, a typical meal at school includes a milk carton. It was no different at my elementary school. Therefore, my mother told the teachers to never give me any dairy products. Every time I moved up a grade, my mother would inform my new teacher about my condition, showing them my doctor's note. My daughter is allergic to dairy product, so please refrain from giving her any milk, or else she might become asphyxiated. Please understand that this is not a matter of her likes and dislikes. She was very cautious about my condition. Because of her, my teachers were very understanding of my situation, and I was able to leave out dairy products from my diet. However, when I was in the 5th grade, even talking about it gives me slight trauma. It was during the spring season. I was able to meet new friends and was overall having a blast being the oldest grade in elementary school. My teacher at the time had to go on maternity leave after having a new baby. Because of her maternity leave, I was introduced to our new substitute teacher, Mrs. Yabatani. I believe she was in her 50s. Maybe it was because of her age, but she had no understanding of allergies. Then came lunchtime. Phew, I can eat everything except the milk. After checking the lunch, I took the milk carton to give it to my teacher. Due to constraints in the lunch schedule, there was no time to check on everyone's allergies. So whenever a student with allergies has something in their lunch, it was their responsibility to bring the food to a box. The food in the box was then given to others who wanted extra. Because I had permission from a doctor, no one would say anything if I returned the milk. However, it was a different story with Mrs. Yabatani. Hey, Mrs., why aren't you drinking that?
It's because I can't. I guess she wasn't notified by the other teacher. I'm allergic to milk, so I was told not to drink milk.
I know.
What? Then why did she ask?
I'm saying, why aren't you trying to drink it?
It's because I was told not to drink it. Would you drink a bottle that was labeled danger? That's basically my situation with milk. My mom told me that I would asphyxiate if I drank that.
That's just the worst case scenario. It doesn't happen often. It's not like you're being stung by a bee.
But my doctor told me I can't.
Do you think I'll just bow down if you bring up the doctor? Stop blaming others and drink it. She would continuously berate me in front of the class, even though I was in the right. That day, I told my mom about everything that happened during lunchtime. She was furious. She immediately called the school. The school told me they were going to talk to Mrs. Yabatani. Don't worry about it too much.
Thank you, Mom.
If anything ever happens, tell me.
Okay.
The next day, when I arrived at school, the vice principal stopped me by the hallways. He told me that they already informed Mrs. Yabatani about my allergy prior to teaching the classes, but she was too old school to understand the severity of allergies.
I guess she's just hard-headed.
The next day, when I arrived in class, Mrs. Yabatani was staring at me. I could just tell she was furious at me for telling on her.
I'm so scared. I didn't do anything wrong.
The classes in elementary schools often have the same teacher for all the subjects. That day, Mrs. Yabatani singled me out constantly, trying to embarrass me more in front of my friends. She would pick difficult questions on purpose to make me look like a fool. "You're so dumb! You're going to make our class's average grade lower!" She was non-stop on her goal to harass me. During home economics class, "Okay, class, today we're going to learn about nutrition and foods." Originally, we were supposed to pick up where we left off last week, but she suddenly changed our topic for the class. It was obvious she was doing this to harass me. "We are made out of the things we eat, such as meat, fish, and even vegetables. However, there is one food that is vital to all humans. It's milk. Raise your hand if you like milk."
Me!
You kids are all great, excluding one. I felt awful knowing that she was going out of her way to make me feel miserable. Milk houses a lot of important nutrients that are needed for us to live a healthy life. One of the more notable nutrients is calcium. Once she was done explaining the importance of milk, she said, "I have a pop quiz for you kids. Eating a steak doesn't make you a cow. Eating sushi doesn't make you a fish. Why is that?"
We process food inside our bodies.
That's correct. We are able to break down the food and absorb the nutrients. However, there are some people that lack the ability to do so, making them unable to break down such foods. Do you know what we call them? Nobody knew the answer to her question. Even I didn't know the answer to the question. With a grin on her face, she said something that I couldn't believe. The answer is defective.
Defective?
Those who are unable to break down food are born with a defection, making them unable to live normally. Therefore, they are a defective human. I was so shocked that I couldn't pay attention for the rest of the class. It wasn't my fault that I was unable to drink milk. Defective. She's horrible. That day, lunchtime was hell for me. The boys teased me for being defective, and I was unable to bring the milk to the box. Then, my longtime friend Miyu came to me and said,
"Nano, let's bring the milk to the box together." But, it's not your fault you can't drink milk. I'm also allergic to crustaceans.
I saw that our soup for the day included prawns.
I'm scared to go alone. Let's go together.
Miyu was another girl that was hurt by our teacher's explanation of defective people.
Okay, I can't believe we're being treated this way.
I brought my milk carton and the cheese to the box together with Miyu. Ms. Nomaru, and you too, Miss Miyu. Didn't you listen to today's class?
But we really can't eat these. It's true. I'm not allowed to eat shrimp.
The boys in class saw this moment as a chance to make fun of us and started singing.
Defective, defective. These two are defective.
Mrs. Yabatani acted like she was reprimanding the boys, but it was obvious she was enjoying the scene. Why don't you two at least try to eat it? Maybe you two are lying about the allergy. You don't want to be defective your whole life, right?
But defective.
When I looked at Miyu, I saw that she was clearly in distress. She was about to drink the soup.
No, don't do it!
I suddenly grabbed Miyu by the wrist, making her spill the soup. When I saw her avoid the soup, I realized how scared she was of her allergy. Not only are you defective, but you even lack common sense. The whole class joined in on teasing us, which lasted the whole lunch. As I felt cornered by everyone, I looked towards the carton of milk and the slice of cheese in my hand.
My mom told me not to drink milk, but maybe I'm able to eat cheese without a problem.
As your punishment, you have to eat everything on your plate.
Okay.
I picked up the cheese and brought it in front of my face.
What if something happens to me? Oh, I'm so scared. Mommy! Nano, no!
Miu tried to stop me, but... Eat it!
Huh?
Mrs. Yabatani took my hands and forced me to eat the cheese. The cheese went straight through my mouth into my throat. Then... What?
Nano!
Why did you suddenly vomit? That's so disgusting!
Don't you see? She's having an allergic reaction.
But it was just one slice of cheese.
Even if it's fine for everyone else, it's poisonous for us. Someone, go and get a teacher. It's so itchy. I can't breathe.
My whole body started to itch, and before I can say another word, I became unconscious. Nano, no! When I woke up, I was at the hospital. Nano, thank God you're okay. After I became unconscious, one of the girls in class called another teacher, and I was safely brought to the hospital. I heard Mrs. Yabatani was in panic and was overall useless. There were some boys in the classroom that said it wasn't my fault and started to panic amongst themselves. It was total chaos in the classroom. After the incident, the principals and other teachers came to visit me to apologize for what has happened. The whole incident became known throughout the school, especially to the parents of kids who have allergies.
Miss Yabatani, what have you done?
I was just trying to cure her allergies.
You're not a doctor! You're just a substitute teacher!
But I thought I could help her.
Even the part about calling her defective?
That's just the kids.
I don't want to hear your excuses. If you really want to talk about it, why don't you explain that to the parents?
Please, I'll stop. After the incident, the Board of Education voted unanimously to fire Mrs. Yabatani. Furthermore, my parents were so furious at her that she reported Mrs. Yabatani to the police, saying she forced me to eat something that I was allergic to. After talking to the police, they were able to launch an investigation on her. She told me she hoped this incident will let everyone in town realize the severity of allergies and treat others accordingly.
Nano, I'm so glad you're okay. I'm so sorry. I tried to save you, but it's not your fault. Sorry for making you worried.
Ever since then, Miu and I stuck together wherever we went. By the way, the boys in the class were all reprimanded by their parents for making the situation worse. They all came to my doorstep to apologize, so I decided to forgive them. There are people around the world that try to force their ideals onto you. But it's important to protect yourself from these people, especially when it comes to allergies. The whole thing made me realize to never become someone like Mrs. Yabatani.